Hi, welcome back to my channel. Jenny here with First Drip, and I am going to be making iced vanilla woods. I had made this last Christmas period, and I have the video for that. I made a 3.5 pound batch. Well, it was more than 3.5 pound because that mold holds 3.5 pounds of oil. So in total, it was just about 5 pounds of soap. And this time I will be making 12 pounds of it, and I'll be using a different kind of blue. Again, this is iced vanilla woods. This is the fragrance right here. This is a discoloring fragrance. It discolors to yellow, and because of that, and I like using green in this soap. Because of that, I am using a blue to make a green instead of using a green and a green colorant. So I'm using green gold, and I will be using some sparkles in there. I'm trying something different. So this is holographic glitter that I will be using. It is biodegradable, so good for environment stuff. This colorant, this is a golden yellowy colorant. I am using a mix of Workshop Heritage Shimmer Gold and Mad Mica's Yellow Iron Oxide to give me this the type of yellow that I am looking for. This blue, last time I did this I used Peacock for this, but this time that's like a uh it's a really nice shade of blue, but this time I am using Blue Vibrance from Not Your Soap. All right, to my oils, my batch oils. This is olive oil, grapeseed oil, and castor oil. I have colloidal oats and kaolin clay in here per usual. This is my melted hard oils, and I have here babasu oil, coconut oil, and shea butter. I'm also going to be using titanium dioxide, and this is my titanium dioxide right here. Just warming it up on the hot plate. Um, yeah, that's that. With that, I'm just gonna get going. Iced vanilla woods has always been a winter favorite around here. I have been making this soap for 3 winters now, I believe, and it always does good with the crowd, both my male buyers and my female customers. Everyone just happened to love it, and so I keep making it. It's been selling, so I've been making. So here it is again, another winter season of iced vanilla woods. This is a discoloring fragrance. If you'd seen what I had posted last year, the last time I had made this, I I play around with the colors to make sure that it comes out as close to what I like to represent as possible. And last year it came out looking really pretty, really beautiful. This year I decided to change the colors, just to make it look somewhat different. Coldprocesssoap is soap making that sometimes you cannot really replicate exactly what you've done before. So I chose the colors that I chose, and you'd see how this soap turned out. It discolored as like I said, this is a discoloring fragrance. The cut was really pretty, but we'll get there. So what I do is I mix up my batter, and then I split it into the three different colors that I wanted to use. So that's going to be the blue, like I had just put in, the gold, which is what I put in white. And you'd see that I put my fragrance in. I usually prefer to put my fragrance in last, at least when I do remember, which is usually about 90% of the time or 95% of the time. I'll put my colorants, put my fragrance, and then I'll pour. Many times, depending on the type of fragrance I'm using. If it's an accelerating fragrance, I would prefer to hand whisk and then move on to the pouring. For this particular soap, you'd see that I didn't put the fragrance in the white. And this was because I was trying to make sure that I get the white to kind of stand out quite a bit and not discolor like the others were going to. Whether it worked out or not, we'll see. But I just put the fragrance in the gold and the blue that now is green because I was going for a green and this is color so like a tannish yellow, and blue plus yellow will give you green. And that's why I used the blue. That was intentional. And that's the intention I always use with these soap, this particular fragrance. And I used a different shade of blue this time around because I was looking to play around with the shade. So if you look at my previous video, I used a different type of blue that turned out actually differently. It's very interesting to see the different ways the colors of soap could come out even though you use the same shade, if that makes sense. So that's what happened with this video. With this soap, actually, the shade of blue that I used produced a different shade of green, which really affected how this turned out at the end of the day. So the kind of swirl I was going for was some sort of a modified lunar swirl. I like the lunar swirl very much, but it's very labor intensive, and depending on the kind of how fluid your batter stays and the type of fragrance you're using, your batter could thicken up quicker than you move with the coloring or the gradient of the shade to get the type of pour that a lunar swirl will give you. That's why I like the modified lunar swirl, because it's not as labor intensive, and I feel like the lunar swirl is very forgiving, or it's more appealing for like a single loaf mold. While you can use a modified lunar swirl and you'll get almost about the same kind of look even with a multi-loaf mold like this. This gives me three and a half loaves of my soap. So I really do enjoy using the lunar swirl, like I said. So again, my intent with this was to make sure that the white doesn't discolor. And as you can see, I'm also using it to achieve that modified lunar swirl by lightening the colors as I poured, and also making sure that the white is also within the pour itself. And I didn't want that white to discolor. So with this pour happening, it was actually going really good. I love the way it was looking. I still love the way it ended up looking, but that's the thing with soap making. Like you get what you get, but guess what? It still ends up being soap. Nothing's wrong with the soap, irrespective of how it turns out. Nothing's wrong with the soap. If you have glycerin rivers, your soap is perfect. That just tells you that your glycerin is in your soap. If your soap seizes up on you and you're still able to chunk it into a mold, there is nothing wrong with that soap. It is just, it just looks the way it looks. If you have a soap batter that accelerates on you, and then you weren't able to get that swirl that you were really longing for, the soap is still soap. It's going to work as good as the most beautiful soap that has been made with the same CP or HP process. Or if your soap is just not thickening up, as long as your ratios of everything is the same, it's correct, right? And sometimes you just have that fragrance that just slows down emulsion, and you're whisking and blending, and you're like, oh, I need to pour, and you're trying to do some sort of a drop swirl or an in the pot swirl, and everything just muddles together because your batter wasn't thick enough. Guess what? It's still soap. It's gonna come out looking a little different than you wanted, but it's still soap. It's gonna clean. It's gonna do the do. It's still what it's supposed to be, which is soap. Everything else is aesthetic. That's all that it is. Um, yeah, so coming back to what I was doing, I was done pouring. I decided to use a biodegradable glitter mix with olive oil to give a little bit of a shimmer shim in my top design. And I kind of changed my mind after this. I wasn't really, honestly, watching the video now, it really does look good, but I wasn't looking at the monitor, and from my vantage point where I was standing, it kind of looked, I would have preferred it a little bit more fluid for me to do that type of top design. And I decided to change gears. And you see me do this a lot. Like, I'm always very indecisive about how the top of my soap is looking. So I decided to change gears and do like a loop-de-loop swirly swirl, and also looks fantastic, also looks pretty. So that's how this top ending up. So I decided to embellish with some really pretty biodegradable stars, just to, like, bring forth the season, bring forth the winter brightness of everything. So that's what this stars is doing for me, just making things look a little bit more pretty, look a little more put together, look a little bit more attractive. That's all we are always aiming for with our artisan soaps. That's why it's an artisan soap. And if you understand the meaning of artisan, these are the things that go into it. I also decided to go with a little bit stardust. This is still biodegradable glitter, just to shimmer everything up and out and make it look good. You would see me always use a spray mist in all of my soaps. I do this every single time, and it's just 99% alcohol that I spray on the top of my soap. And usually this is to prevent soda ash. But the truth about soda ash is, as long as how you keep and preserve your soap when it's going through the hardening first phase of curing, which is just the setting and solidifying and doing the do, and it's not exposed to air, you're gonna have minimal soda ash anyway. And whatever soda ash you get, another thing I do, which you don't see on camera, I think I may have done it once on camera, it's something I don't usually video, is I will steam the top of my soap before, like 30 minutes before I cut it. So at this point, I am cutting this soap, and as you can see from the outside, it started to discolor. And oh my goodness, when I started cutting this and I saw the inside, I was longing. I was like, oh, I wish this color would stay as is. And I knew it wasn't, but it just was the prettiest thing. It was the prettiest thing ever. Still, yeah, you can see the top has significantly discolored. You see the butter around the edge has significantly discolored. Look at that swirl. Look at that modified lunar swirl. It is perfect. So it came out looking fantastic. Really fantastic. The one video, actually I had recorded a video of the end, meaning when I clean up my soap and bevel and do all the shaving and all that good stuff. I do it, I know a lot of people do it like, I don't know, a few days after cutting. They clean up and stamp their soap and move on and call it, just call it, and that's it. I take my sweet time. I don't do all of that until at the end of my curing phase. I always cure for exactly 6 weeks or even a little bit more, depending on if I've forgotten about it and I've moved on to working on other projects. I will usually clean up my soaps and stamp and all those things that you usually will see at the end of my videos. I do that at the 6 week mark. Very sometimes I'll do it before, maybe around like the 5 weeks, 4 weeks, between the 4 and 5 weeks, but it's usually always at the 6 week mark. And for me, it's just easier, I think. For me, it's easier. It's not as draggy because it's not still soft. And stamping for me is also easier. I know depending on type, you hear people say, oh, it's going to be too hard at that point to stamp. Yes and no. Yes, depending on the type of stamp you have, right? Some stamps will not work, will not stamp properly if you let it sit for too long. You're not going to have a stamped soap. The kind of stamp I have, the kind of stamp I use, the kind of stamp I got, makes it such that it really digs into the soap and leaves its mark, irrespective of how cured your soap is. Now, yes, I don't want to wait for my soap to be like months old before I do that. Even though I have done it before, I've tried it with old soap, and I was still able to stamp. But at that point, I either really had to push hard or I had to use a mallet. You notice I don't use mallet with my stamp because I don't need to, and it kind of like stamps like a dream. So I just do all of my cleaning up at the end of my cure. I'm doing air quotes, end of my cure, and I pack it at the same time. I use boxes to package my soaps, and it works out for me that way. So I filmed that 6 weeks after this cut. So I was 6 weeks after I've done this stage, and I had recorded it. I had it. I honestly thought I had done editing my videos, and I was cleaning out because I needed storage, and then I deleted a bunch of videos, and I think there were about 4 or 5 videos where I don't have that last bit of footage because I thought I was done editing all my videos, but I wasn't. So I threw pictures at the end of the video. So this is one of them, and you'll see the picture right at the end. And like I said, looking at this soap, it looks gorgeous. It is gorgeous. The swirl is perfect. I love that gold in there right in the middle, accented by the green. You just see spots of white here and there. Granted, I didn't put in too much white in there, but you can see it right there. Like, you can see the veining and all of that. It's there. Now, this is what it looks like. And this is after the cure.